All right. It has been a while since we've done a Keaton's Indie Corner, so I guess this is episode 3. It'll be a little bit different. I primarily use the Indie Corner for recommendations because of things that I like, and I want to generally use this to share those things and recommend those things. And it is partially that, which we'll get to. So, we'll start with Daredevil Born Again. This series just finished last week, and I guess not the series, it's just season 1. It is supposed to be, I think, a spiritual season 4 to the original show, and I say that because it's literally the same cast, characters, etc., etc. I had red flags going into this. Well, what were those red flags? Well, it was the fact that neither Drew Goddard or Stephen DeKnight were attached to the project. There was also some production hell. They had to they made a show, realized that it would not be good for the fans, which I think is silly. It's like, who are you making it for? But I digress. And last minute, they were like, actually, we're bringing in some different creatives. We're going to see if we can salvage this and make it something that'll more connect with fans of the original show. They were explicitly saying that, which, again, boggles my mind. It's like, wait, hold on. You were going to make a Daredevil show with the same people, same Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, that wasn't for the fans of the Daredevil show? I don't know. The logic doesn't add up to me, but it's also Disney Plus, so sounds about right. Anyways, I gave it a shot. I watched all 9 episodes. Let's start with the good, because there's not a lot, unfortunately. And I'm going to get to the recommendation here in a second, because this is why this is a little weird. Episode 6 and a little bit of episode 9 is good. A lot of episode 6 is really, really good. It's the only one that actually even felt like Netflix Daredevil. And unfortunately, that's really about it. There's a lot. So, we'll start with the writing. I have an analogy. Remember when you're sitting there watching the 4th Pirates of the Caribbean movie? And when something is missing, in a weird way, you can kind of feel the absence. It's kind of an oxymoron, but and a contradiction. But you're sitting there watching the 4th Pirates movie, and you're like, man, I can feel the void of Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom. Like, they are and Hans Zimmer for that matter. They're just like, you can feel that they're gone, and it's unfortunate, and you miss them. Right out the gate with this show, episode 1 and 2, I was definitely missing Drew Goddard and Stephen DeKnight. Especially Stephen DeKnight. He is an excellent writer, especially of dialogue, and immediately I was missing him. So you could definitely tell they were gone. The dialogue was quite bad. And yeah, it's unfortunate because Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, credit where it's due, they killed it. They did not phone it in. They brought it. They did everything that they could given the script for the entire series, truthfully. And the story, there was a little bit of character assassination. There were multiple times throughout the season that Matt Murdock would be getting lectured by people, and that was already annoying, but step 2 to that was he would accept it, and he'd be like, yeah, you're right. It's like, what is happening? You have the original Netflix show, and he, because he's a superhero, and he's a brilliant lawyer, his gut instinct and his decision-making is good, because he's the protagonist, he's the superhero. But not in this, no. Criminals would be like, hey, there was actually a scene, I think it was in episode 4, in like the first half of episode 4, where he's in the cell with the prisoner, kind of like talking to him, because I guess the criminal wants him to represent him, and the criminal is on camera. Like, everything that happens is on camera. And he keeps on telling Matt, he's like, no, I am innocent. I got you because I am innocent, even though there's plenty of footage. And the conversation just kind of devolves to the point where the criminal's like, this is just all messed up, man. This is just terrible, even though he's very clearly guilty. And Matt Murdock turns and is like, yeah, I know. It's like, what? Just like that. You should be disbarred for that, by the way. Anyways, so that was really annoying. He ends up getting lectured by a bunch of people, like, including but not limited to a little kid, other less experienced lawyers, etc. And it's just super annoying. It's like they were trying to be like, hey, we're trying to change how you think about Matt Murdock, which is the most Disney thing ever. And apparently, what we got could have been a lot worse before they came in and did reshoots. My evidence for this is John Bernthal was invited during the initial Daredevil Born Again and turned it down because of how bad it was, and he's like, that's not Punisher at all. Like, what are you guys doing? And he only came back to even do a couple scenes across episode 4 and 9 because they changed it all. There are definitely episodes and scenes that were kept from the original shot, which brings a lot of inconsistency and clunkiness to the series, especially, and this goes for any show, if you're going to have a 9-episode TV drama, okay, hour-long episodes, which is one of the most popular TV show model these days, you can't afford filler. Why on earth are you doing filler in a 9-episode TV drama? Episode 5 is a full filler episode. There are some cool moments in it. The fighting is cool. Like, the action's good. There is a terrible references to the current MCU and other MCU shows via, like, Easter eggs. It's the Miss Marvel show. That, I almost turned my TV off when they did that. It was very annoying. The whole point of Daredevil is it's a very grounded, brought together in its own thing story, which I want to get to how they ruined that too. They open the show with replacing the very well-written and beloved side characters from the original show, Karen and Foggy. Even though they set up 3 seasons of Karen, and her entire arc is that she starts out kind of helpless to being very not only motivated, but actually taking action that matters because she cares for where she is and the people around her. They move her across the country, and right after they killed off Foggy in the first 15 minutes of episode 1, to replace both of them. And then the entire show of the original Netflix show takes place in Hell's Kitchen. And Hell's Kitchen to Daredevil is like Queens to Spider-Man. It's a big part of the books. It's a big part of the identity of the character. They immediately move Matt out, too. So that super iconic, if you haven't seen the Netflix show, Matt's apartment is really iconic. It's kind of like Bat-cavey, kind of vaulty ceilings, big paned windows. It's really cool. So they move him out of there. They replace the beloved side characters with much more poorly written and much less likable side characters. And then they have him lectured to and accept the ridicule for every episode. It's just sad. And the worst part is I'm still going to watch season 2 when it comes out out of morbid curiosity. It's not excitement or just like at all. It's sheer curiosity. And yeah, they also made really bad decisions throughout. Like in episode 7, they killed off a huge Daredevil villain, which was bad idea. And I won't go into like all of like the plot details there, but yeah, they just bunch of poor decisions and poor writing because they didn't bring back what made Daredevil, which was Stephen DeKnight and Drew Goddard. Also, Daredevil, a huge part of his character, which is actually utilized in the Netflix show, is the Christianity aspect. They pull almost all of it out. One of the big reasons that I liked episode 6, there's a lot of good in episode 6, is that they actually brought some of that back. Other than that, they took it almost completely out of the show. This is supposed to be, it is a continuation, like it picks up after season 3. However, taking the Christianity out is kind of self-defeating because a lot of season 3 was Matt finding that faith again. He spends a lot of time recovering. People think he's dead, and so it's a lot of him recovering in a church. Throughout the show, he visits his priest and confessional multiple times, and he's battling this thing, and it's really beautiful. All out the window, except in episode 6. So, yeah, it's all very unfortunate, but here's my kind of pivot. I highly, highly recommend the original Netflix show. It's 3 seasons. My take, honestly, as far as page to screen adaptations of superhero material, it is the second best thing ever made. Arguably first, but I put it right at 2, behind the 1978 Superman movie by Richard Donner. It is that good. Not only is it just well written and well made in its own right, like even if you knew nothing about the comics, it is excellent. Writing, the action. I think the low budget actually kind of helped that show, made it much more gritty, much more real. Every character has really good arcs, and even if there isn't like blatant fan service, it still holds up on its own. My favorite season is season 2, but yeah, it is just excellent, and that's another reason why I think Born Again was kind of dead on arrival, is because those are such massive shoes to fill. So if you're not at the very least going to bring back the showrunners and writers from that, because the tragic story is it was canceled in 2019, which it should not have been, because I think the ratings were still pretty good, unlike Born Again. Born Again has had abysmal ratings, even for Disney Plus, which is kind of wild, because even after all that I just said about it, it is still the best show Disney Plus has put out, which is a low bar. Very low bar. So, yeah, I guess the turn in the recommend is please do yourself a favor, comic book fan or not. It's just watch the Netflix original Daredevil show, which is on Disney Plus because they bought the rights to it a few years ago. Those first 3 seasons by Drew Goddard and Stephen DeKnight are brilliant. Second best comic book adaptation ever. So go watch those. I wouldn't even bother with Born Again. Like, yeah, episode 6 is good. It's not worth the 5 before it. So yeah. And then I have another review. Another thing that came out just this week. And that is Ryan Coogler's Sinners. I was not expecting to be super thrilled about this movie and even like it that much. So I can say I am shocked that I liked it. It is quite good. And I'll tell you why I was hesitant going in. I'm not the biggest fan of the Black Panther movies, honestly. One of the key reasons being, and why I was kind of nervous about going into a new Coogler film, is he is on record. There's interviews with his costume designer actually explaining this, that he made the villains in the Black Panther movies, like the through line is that they were all wearing dark blue because he wanted his movie villains to represent police. So that kind of turned me off of him in general. So that was, but you know, I wanted to see this. You do a little bit of background. This is a big passion project for him. And there is, you can tell when you're watching it, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of like, you could tell the certain elements that he wanted to convey and things he himself is a fan of and things he liked. And he definitely tried to get that all in there, and we'll get to that. But the quick outline of the story is these twin brothers who are vets from World War I, because it takes place in the early 30s. They're initially from Mississippi, but they move to Chicago. While they're up there, they make a lot of money. May or may not be clean, you know. And people talk about that. Regardless, they made a lot of money, okay? And they decide to move home because they want to start a club. Kind of like it's like a bar, but it's more of like a club. Like there's a lot of it's a live music venue, but they do, you know, serve alcohol and food and whatnot. So they want to move back home and open up this club. So they do that, and while they're doing this, there's another little subplot that involves the guy that they bought it from and vampires, which, I'm going to be honest, I think that they made the same mistake as Companion earlier this year. I really wish that wasn't in the trailer. I wish the robot reveal wasn't in the Companion trailer, which I talked about, I believe, on an Indie Corner episode. And they shouldn't have revealed the vampire thing. They, like, told everybody it was a vampire thing. That totally should have been an in-movie reveal. But, anyways, there are vampires who see this club as kind of an opportunity to eat. And what's really cool is it's very just kind of myth-accurate, lore-accurate vampires. There's the garlic allergy, if you will, the silver allergy, if you will, the wooden stake thing, the eyes that glow, and that they're virtually monsters. They're evil monsters. So they hit on all of those. Also the sunlight thing. Like, they're just... he doesn't really take any liberties with that, which is really cool, and I respect that. So, you have this kind of cast of characters that you're kind of rooting for. Even though, like I said, the money, not necessarily clean. And there's even some of the brothers, they have friends that aren't thrilled about how they got this money. And, yeah, so I'll leave the plot there. You gotta watch it, see how that unfolds. And there's a lot that I liked. Number one, I want to get back to the passion project thing. This was simultaneously like he very much wanted to mess with vampires, but at the same time he wanted to make like a love letter to music, which made some of the plot a little clunky. And you'll know what I'm talking about if you see the movie. There's this huge sequence involving the love letter to music, and it's like, okay, I almost just forgot that vampires are in this, which is my main critique of the movie, is that the first hour and 15 of this 2-hour movie, there's like a 30-second reference to the vampire thing in that first hour and 15 minutes, and then it just hits it hard after that. And it's like, dude, I almost forgot. So that was a little clunky. I think either you should have just A, made the movie shorter, or B, a little more setup for the vampire thing. Because that was really cool. The score of this movie is excellent. I was sitting there thinking, I don't think I've had a score that is this good and honestly just cool, which is weird to say about it like a film score, but it really is. It's like bluesy, but there's also like kind of big cinematic elements with that. There's parts of the score that feels like Red Dead Redemption, which is a game I'm quite fond of. So yeah, I can definitely see myself listening to the score back in the future, in the very near future. I think I haven't liked a score this much since Horizon. So I guess that's a pretty good compliment there. But yeah, back to the Ryan Coogler issue. I was worried that this was not going to be as even-keeled. I was like, oh, this is going to be, look at all these black people. They just want to have their exclusive club, but white people got to ruin it, and their white people are going to show up and just kill them because they're racist. Yeah. And it wasn't, thank goodness. I was really worried about that going in because that is a very Coogler thing to do. But it wasn't. It was, nobody was safe from succumbing to this vampire thing. And so it's not that they're monsters because they're white. It's because they're monsters because they're, actual vampires. Like, they don't care who they eat. They're vampires. So, yeah, very, very well done. A lot of great acting performances. And yeah, I quite liked it. I will probably get it when it comes out on Blu-ray. So, in this day and age, it's got to be north of an 8 for me to even consider that. And I'd say it's probably in the 8 ballpark. If I sit and stew on it longer, maybe 9, but I'm leaning toward 8. So yeah, recommend Sinners. I will, quick note, it's a vampire movie, so it is grody. There's a lot of blood, a lot of gore. But yeah, big recommend from me that I wasn't expecting. So kind of an interesting episode of The Corner today. Thanks for listening as always, and I'm sure there will be more of these here in the future.